Thank you, Mr. Sinclair. Again, my name is Doug Thomas. I'm Vice President of Project Management with Independence Excavating and Independence Demolition, based out of just south of Cleveland, Ohio, Independence, Ohio. I want to thank, first off, KHL, Demolition Recycling Magazine, and the European Demolition Association, and of course the National Demolition Association, which we're a member of, for having me present today. A lot of great presentations, a lot of great things we're talking about, we're doing, and all you guys that went before me, you're a tough act to follow. I'm excited to present to you the challenges and successes of the SRP Navajo Generating Station for Salt River Power in Page, Arizona. So to start off with the project location, Page, Arizona is in northeast Arizona. We're based out of Cleveland, so it's across the country. Page, Arizona is situated off of Lake Powell. Lake Powell being fed by the Colorado River, by the Glen Canyon Dam and Glen Canyon, which is of course precursor to the Colorado River. So SRP and the Navajo Nation set out to decommission this power plant, coal-fired power plant, to basically restore the area and give the land back to the Navajo Nation. One thing, while I have the map up here, you see the Navajo Generating Station up here, a dedicated rail line to the mine that solely fed this plant for the 40 years that it was in operation. 81-mile rail line, electric rail line that solely just cycled the coal to keep the plant running. The decommissioning of this plant included not only the plant itself, all the infrastructure for that, as well as the railroad and the mine. So it was a good-sized project. To start off a little bit with the plant history, constructed in the early 1970s, or the 1900s as my son would say, the plant was the largest coal-fired plant west of the Mississippi. That was, of course, prior to demolition. The power from this plant fed a good portion of the southwest United States, including California, Nevada, and Arizona for 40 years. The size of the plant, obviously 2,250 megawatts, and it was based in 3 main units, which we'll see here in a minute. Again, as I mentioned, the dedicated rail line consumed and cycled approximately 24,000 tons of coal per day. So the plant itself is situated 3 miles outside of the city of Page, situated on 300 acres. And the plant mainly consists of 3 units, 3 supercritical hung boilers, 250 feet tall, 76 meters, electrostatic precipitators for each, 150,000 square foot turbine bay with 3 elevated turbines, 3 775-foot stacks, as well as 220-foot stacks that were the remnants of the previous stacks. And then, of course, all the ancillary units, including cooling towers, environmental units, rail car unloader, and everything that goes with the power plant. So starting with a flyover, if you will, again, situated in the desert, 3 units, 3 main stacks, boilers, the turbine bay in front right there. And then coming around to the other side, you've got electrostatic precipitators, absorbers, and then all the coal feeding facility. The coal yard itself was approximately 55 acres, all fed with the rail car and the unloading facility on the north side, and then all the ancillary dedicated maintenance facilities, getting into treatment, environmental facilities, water treatment, wastewater treatment, and then cooling towers and everything that came with it. So to talk a little bit about our demolition project, our award for this project was in late 2019. As I mentioned before, this is part of the overall decommissioning of the plant, the facilities, the railroad, and the mine to return the land to the Navajo Nation. So our end user, our end stakeholder, being the Navajo Nation, is very involved in it, very interested in what's going on and how the project is proceeding. We mobilized in February of 2020. We commenced with environmental decommissioning right away, de-energizing units, and preparing the site for abatement and demo. And then, of course, like probably everybody in the room, COVID hit. So we've got 1 month worth of work in, and then we actually shut down for 4 months on this project. We demobilized our crew, we kept the equipment idle, really was a collective coming together with SRP, Tetra Tech, and the Navajo Nation, looking at infection rates in the area and with the Navajo Nation as we all went through COVID. And then we restarted in August. We developed our plans, we developed our protocol, we developed our monitoring, which we still continue to this day. And we continued right back where we left off, completed the environmental preparations, and then starting to get into the unit-by-unit demolition, getting into our flow until substantial completion just in September 2021. So to start off with one of our key milestones, which was the first explosive felling of the plant. 3 stacks, and we took 1 precipitator with it, 775 feet tall, and they really were the icon of the area. They were the 3rd largest man-made structures in the state of Arizona, approximately 77 stories tall. And then Mr. Reedike, Mr. Gilbert, and Mr. Hatch came to town and took care of that. So, the event itself really was a virtual community event. Highways were lined. One good thing with this site was we're not in downtown Johannesburg, so like we have space. Our critical area was relatively easily maintained. The felling of the stacks, again done by Dicon with Paul Rose Engineering, was a huge success. It was a great success and a great way to really kick off the meat of the project. So following right on that, 1 month later in January of 2021, again with Dicon and Paul Rose, took care of the electrostatic precipitators. We really moved this whole demolition from the east side of the plant to the west side of the plant, working through. So clearing the stacks, getting into the electrostatic precipitators, then clearing the electrostatic precipitator debris, and doing our pre-cutting so that in March of 2021, we were all ready to shoot the boilers. We did this with Demtech Explosives with special inspection and design out of St. Louis. But again, another very successful event and a great successful progression of our demolition. Another thing that was successful with this shot was that we did peel the boilers off of the turbine bay, which was right adjacent to it, where we were still doing pre-cutting, still preparing the turbines for the next phase. And we did that all while maintaining the structural integrity. And again, that was part of the great success of this shot. So I don't have good video of this one, but the turbine bay demolition, going from east to west, was next. 3 individual turbines. We shot them individually. They were all on pedestals, 40 feet in the air. The legs on each of them were 14 feet by 14, and there were 14 of them. The deck itself was 7 to 9 feet thick. So we really took this and we really shot it like a bridge pier. The shots, like I said, were done individually through the month of June. And another thing a key that we did with this, you see the pedestals during construction, but we kept the building shell up. On the west side of the building shell was the active switch yard, which still feeds a good portion of Nevada and California, as well as Arizona. So to maintain that structure, which still maintained its structural integrity through the shots, and really protected the switch yard and really contained the blast. It was a great means to do that. So getting into the next, now that we have everything on the ground, and I don't have any more explosive videos, material processing was probably the largest challenge of the job, both from a magnitude of the amount of material we had, as well as the logistics of being in Page, Arizona. You know, the nearest mill being pretty much a minimum of 10-hour drive and not much access to rail. You got rail about half of it, and at that point, you may as well just drive the rest of the way. Believe me, we did the evaluations. All told, we processed approximately 120,000 tons of metals. We actually are still finishing the processing up. The processing will end up at the end of this year. We also worked with approximately 600,000 gallons of fluids. Part of that, or a bulk of that, was 430,000 gallons of high sulfur diesel fuel. So it's not like you can just put it into our equipment. It's higher than that. But we were able to market it, and we were able to recycle it so that it was put to a good use. Another part of the material processing that was, again, another success, was the tracking of the commodities. We tracked 31 commodities on this, and we did this with a shared savings incentive with SRP. And if you can guess, with the scrap market we're at, I mean, it's a real win-win situation. SRP is going to come out very well with it, and quite frankly, we are as well. But to share and to partner in that success was great. Overall, we recycled 92% of all the commodities of everything coming off of this job. So I've been kind of giving you hints, but just to run down the project successes of this job. And number one, and we talk about it, and I'll talk a little bit more about it, but it's safety. We were able to get through this job. We were able to perform this job with no lost time incidents and no recordable incidents. And I'll talk a little bit how we did it. But safety is certainly a great success of this job. COVID protocols. I'm going to put it up as a success, as everybody groans. The bottom line is we were able to put our plans in place. We were able to take a step back for 4 months. We were able to gather all of our guys together and say, these are the measures we need to do, this is the monitoring we need to do, and this is how we need to keep you safe. And we didn't have another shutdown. So we were able to take those plans, implement them, and get everybody on board, and it really was a success. Schedule and planning. I talked a little bit about the flow of the demolition going from the east side and working our way through. Both keeping that same plan, evaluating that same plan, evaluating where maybe we could take advantages, and keeping that overall schedule and planning going. And then certainly a success is the magnitude of the material handling, which really is a success due to the challenge. To be able to move that much material in Northeast Arizona to handle it the way we did was great. And the last major success that I do want to highlight was our community relations. Knowing our end user being the Navajo Nation, the sensitivity of the area, the ecological resources of the area, the national parks, Lake Powell, and working with the community to really get involved and help them out. So to drill down a little more, safety, our first success. Again, no lost time incidents, no recordables. How did we do it? We worked approximately 220,000 man hours. My answer, boiling it down, is a field-based performance. And Mr. Sinclair touched upon it, Mr. Barker touched upon it, Mr. Bennett touched upon it. the field-based performance, really giving the guys in the field, guys and the women in the field, the professionals that are doing the work, involving them in the tasks, involving them in identifying the hazards, identifying the better way to do things, the more efficient ways of doing things, really getting them involved in the task planning, and then following it up with the nuts and the bolts and the JHAs, the daily huddles, the meetings, and as with so many components of our business, it comes down to communication. Empowering those professionals in the field to feel comfortable to speak up, to identify those hazards, to work with us, and really move the job along safely to where everybody can not only go home, but be proud of what we're doing. As far as the community outreach, to go a little further into that one, number one of the things we did was the Navajo hiring. We hired 47 local workers, not nearly as many as the impact to the area, but to work with SRP, to work with the Navajo Nation, and to identify individuals that can really plug in and help. And some of the individuals we are taking to other parts of the country, and we are keeping employed. You know, that's part of the training. That's part of the ongoing development that we really did very well with this. And we're continuing. We've got a few. We're still processing. We're finishing up a couple of other follow-on civil phases after that. We'll still continue the Navajo process or hiring process. We'll still work with the Navajo Nation. It really has worked out well. A couple other things we did with the community when COVID hit. We sent care packages out of Cleveland. We distributed them to not only the tribe directly, but to local medical centers. All the typical care packages that we all know, the hand sanitizer, the tests, everything. So another thing we did was looking at the area and looking at some of the residents and the need for just water. We are in the desert. And we were able to work with the tribe to provide some domestic water tanks for some local residents. And then beyond that, the continued support of community organizations like 4-H, youth sports, and really getting involved in the community. We're from Cleveland. We're coming to Northeast Ohio, but we really do consider our community involvement as a success of this project. And to talk a little bit about the planning. As with a lot of every project that everybody in this room does, we have a lot of high-risk tasks, and really focusing on identifying the hazards, sitting down with the plan, how are we flowing through the project, you know, are there areas where we can gain on schedule, and are there areas that we need to allocate more resources to beef up the schedule, and all of this, doing it while staying safe. That being key, staying safe. So in conclusion, again, substantial completion of the demolition was this past September. We're still finishing up processing right now in some civil phases, but I would offer that this really is, you know, we've heard some great projects today. You've got great projects in your resumes all over the world. I would offer this as a great example and a great win as far as a model on teaming together, working through challenges, working through issues, and really for the satisfaction of our clients, because that's why we're all here, the satisfaction of our clients. Jim Van Norton and Dennis McGarrell, the word partnering has come up quite a bit today. And that was another success of this project, was the partnering that we did with Tetra Tech, with SRP, and with the end users, the Navajo Nation. And I want to thank everybody for the opportunity to speak today. I could take questions. Our team is here. They could take questions. But I want to thank you and enjoy the rest of the conference.
Yes, thank you, Doug. That was certainly a very comprehensive and disciplined approach that you made. It was very systematic and it looked very, very tidy all the way through.
I thought it went kind of fast.
Yeah, I have just a question. With it being a 1970s era plant that was built, what about asbestos?
Had a significant amount of asbestos. SRP took most of the asbestos on right up front.
Right.
So they cleared a good bit of the asbestos out ahead of us under a separate contract.
Right. Did you come across any at all during
Certainly. Yep. We certainly came across it. Again, comes into the training of our guys and the ability to identify challenges and adapt to site conditions. So there were some follow-on instances where we really kind of collectively sat down with Tetra Tech and SRP and said, all right, what's the best way to manage this challenge?
Right.
With our resources, with their resources.
So with it being located in the desert, where was your contaminated waste disposal? Where was that? Was it like in Canada or someplace?
No. Several facilities around. There's a couple facilities in Nevada. Still a 10-hour truck drive away.
Wow.
Couple facilities in Arizona, and then with the flue gas and the ash, they did have a on-site landfill for the solid waste for what they were regulated to dispose of.
Very good. Well, thank you. Any other questions for Doug? Yeah. Jim Graham.
Thanks, Doug. Great job.
Thank you.
Exciting project. Question that's a little different. You mentioned the Navajo Nation. I assume that was your client.
Our client was actually SRP.
Is that part of the sovereign nation?
No.
Okay.
SRP is actually based out of Phoenix as Salt River Power.
Okay.
The Navajo Nation, the plant is situated within the reservation, so that's where to decommission the plant and return the land to the reservation, basically.
Then my question's not a question, so thank you.
No problem. I like that.
Any more questions for Doug? I thought Scott Laird might have had a few questions. I think he was saying to me he was going to put you under pressure.
I don't think you can keep Scott down.
I'm telling you. Anyway, thank you, Doug. That was very
much
good. Thank you very much.
Sure.